My son-in-law humiliated me with hot soup. Just one call from me changed everything. The liquid was scalding. It wasn't just the temperature. It was the sheer, visceral shock of it. I sat there, the orange broth dripping from my chin, staining the collar of the only flannel shirt I had that still smelled like my late wife, Sarah. At dinner, my son-in-law threw hot soup in my face and smiled, saying, "That is what you deserve." My daughter looked at me and said, "He is right, Dad." I said nothing. I just wiped my burning face and left. But before leaving, I made one quick call. What happened next? They never forgot. If you are listening to this and you believe that blood is thicker than water, or that family loyalty is unconditional, I have a hard truth for you. You never truly know the people sitting at your table until they believe you have nothing left to give them. When the wallet closes, the masks fall off. My name is Daniel. I am 68 years old, and for the last 5 years, I have lived a lie. To my neighbors in this quiet Seattle suburb, I am a retired warehouse worker scraping by on a pension. I drive a 1998 sedan with a rattling muffler. I wear thrift store coats. I clip coupons. My daughter, Marianne, and her husband, Jameson, believe that I am destitute. They believe I am a relic, a man whose useful years have evaporated, leaving behind a burden they are forced to tolerate. They do not know that I founded Apex Global Logistics. They do not know that I retain the majority controlling interest in a supply chain empire that moves goods across 3 continents. They do not know that the pension I live on is a rounding error in my daily interest accrual. I hid my wealth for a reason. I hid it because I wanted to know if my children loved me, or if they just loved the lifestyle I could provide. Tonight, sitting at a mahogany table in a house I secretly paid for, I got my answer. And it burned hotter than the soup running down my cheek. If you've ever felt unappreciated, or if you've ever had to test the loyalty of those around you, please take a second to like this video. It helps share this story with others who need to hear it. And do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. We're building a community of people who understand that dignity isn't for sale. Also, comment down below where you're watching from. I'd love to know who is standing with me tonight. The dining room was silent, save for the dripping of the soup onto the hardwood floor. Jameson sat at the head of the table, his chest heaving, his face twisted into a sneer of triumph. He adjusted the cuffs of his Italian suit, a suit bought with credit I knew he couldn't service. "Look at you," Jameson spat, picking up his wine glass. "Pathetic. You come into my house, eat my food, and you have the audacity to critique the seasoning? You're lucky we let you inside at all, Daniel." He didn't call me Dad. He hadn't for a long time. I looked at Marianne, my little girl. I remembered holding her when she scraped her knee in the 2nd grade. I remembered paying for her university degree, her wedding, her first car. I waited for her to stand up. I waited for her to scream at him. I waited for a napkin. She didn't move. She stared at her plate, her knuckles white as she gripped her fork. "Marianne," I whispered. The sound of my voice seemed to annoy her. "He's right, Dad," she said, her voice trembling but cold. "You should be more grateful. Jameson is under a lot of pressure. You provoke him. Provoke him. By existing. By being old. By being, in their eyes, poor." I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't flip the table. The old warehouse worker might have yelled. But the CEO of Apex Global did not throw tantrums. He executed strategies. I took my napkin and wiped the worst of the mess from my face. My skin was stinging, turning a blotchy red, but the physical pain was distant. It was merely data. The real injury was in my chest, a hollow, tearing sensation where my heart used to be. "I see," I said. My voice was calm, terrifyingly calm. I walked out of the dining room, past the family photos that were nothing more than propaganda for a happy life that didn't exist. I opened the front door and stepped out into the rainy Washington night. I walked to my rusted sedan. I didn't get in. Instead, I reached into the hidden compartment in the glove box and pulled out a satellite phone. I dialed a number I hadn't used in years. "Elena," I said when the line connected. "Sir?" The voice was sharp, professional. Elena was my fixer, my general counsel, and the only person who knew where the bodies were buried. "Initiate the liquidation protocol," I said. "Target is the Oak Ridge property." "And Elena?" "I want a full financial autopsy on Jameson and Marianne. Tonight." "Understood, sir. Are you all right?" "No," I said, looking back at the warm glow of the house where my family sat eating dinner. "I am not all right, but I will be." I sat in the cold car, the rain drumming against the roof like thousands of tiny fingers. The smell of the soup, a heavy spiced pumpkin bisque, filled the small cabin, mixing with the scent of old upholstery and gasoline. I should have been broken. I should have been weeping. But as I sat there, the sadness began to calcify into something harder, something useful. I thought about the last 5 years. When Sarah died, the house felt too big. The money felt pointless. I saw how Marianne and Jameson looked at me at the funeral, not with grief, but with calculation. They were assessing the estate. They were counting the inheritance. So, I sold the mansion. I moved into a small rental. I told them the market had turned, that bad investments had wiped me out. I told them I had nothing left but a small monthly check. I wanted to see who they were. Jameson was a serial entrepreneur, which is code for unemployed with expensive taste. He jumped from one scheme to another: crypto, dropshipping, tech startups that never started. Marianne was his enabler. She liked the image of success more than the work required to achieve it. They treated poor Daniel with a mix of pity and contempt. They invited me to holidays, only to ignore me. They made me park my rusted car down the street so the neighbors wouldn't see it. But tonight was different. Tonight, physical lines had been crossed. I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. The burn on my cheek was blistering. It was a mark of shame, they thought. But to me, it was a receipt. It was proof of purchase for what I was about to do. I started the engine. It sputtered and coughed before catching. I wasn't going to a hotel. I was going to the office, the real office. The drive into the city was a blur of neon lights and rain-slicked asphalt. I drove past the skyscrapers that housed the banks and corporations that ran this world. I owned shares in half of them. I pulled into the underground garage of the Apex Tower. The security guard, a new hire, stepped out to wave away my junk car. Then he saw the license plate, a specific sequence of numbers that was flagged in the system as Owner Executive. He hesitated, checked his scanner, and then his eyes went wide. He stepped back and saluted. I parked in the spot marked Reserved Chairman. It had been empty for 5 years. I took the private elevator to the penthouse suite. The doors opened, and Elena was waiting. She was 50, sharp-featured, dressed in a suit that cost more than Jameson's car. "Daniel," she said, her composure cracking for a split second when she saw my face. "My God. We need a medic." "I don't need a medic, Elena. I need the file." She nodded, handing me a tablet. We ran the audit as requested. It's worse than we thought. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling window looking out over the Seattle skyline. Tell me. Jameson is insolvent, she said. He's leveraged everything. Credit cards, personal loans, high-interest lines of credit. But that's not the headline. What is the headline? The house, she said. The Oak Ridge house. The one you funneled the money for through the blind trust? Yes, I paid cash for it. It's in their name, free and clear. It was supposed to be a sanctuary for my grandson. It's not free and clear anymore, Elena said quietly. Jameson took out a second mortgage, and a third. But no bank would touch him with his credit score, so he went to the secondary market. I turned around. Who holds the note? The Kovacs syndicate. I froze. The Kovacs were not bankers. They were loan sharks disguised as a private equity firm. They didn't foreclose with lawyers. They foreclosed with baseball bats. How much? I asked. $2 million. Due in full in 48 hours. If he doesn't pay, they take the house. And knowing the Kovacs, they won't stop at the house. I sank into my leather chair. My grandson, Noah. He was 6 years old. He was sleeping in a house that was collateral for a mob debt. How did he get the loan? I asked. The deed is in both their names. He would need Marianne's signature. Elena swiped the tablet screen and handed it to me. He had it. I looked at the digital copy of the loan agreement. There, at the bottom, was Jameson's flamboyant scrawl. And next to it, small and shaky, was Marianne's signature. She knew. She wasn't just a victim of his bad decisions. She was an accomplice. She had signed away her son's safety to fund Jameson's delusions of grandeur. My mind went back to the dinner earlier that evening. The reason for the gathering was my birthday. Marianne had given me a card, a generic drugstore card with no money inside. Jameson had laughed. We're saving our cash for big moves, Daniel, he had said. Big things coming. I had brought a gift for Noah. I didn't have money to buy expensive electronics, so I had spent 2 months in my garage building a grandfather clock. It was small, hand-carved from walnut, with gears I had assembled myself. When I presented it, Jameson had sneered. What is this? He asked, holding it up like dead vermin. A clock? The kid wants an iPad, Daniel. We don't want your garage trash cluttering up our aesthetic. He had tossed it onto the sofa. I heard the delicate wood crack. That was the moment I spoke up. That was the moment I said, you might appreciate the value of time if you ever earned a dime of your own. That was the comment that earned me a bowl of soup to the face. I looked at the loan document again. The betrayal was total. They were drowning, and instead of asking for help, they were abusing the only person who could have saved them. This is hard to watch, Elena said, interrupting my thoughts. But you need to see the rest. Jameson isn't just in debt, he has a plan to get out of it. What plan? He's hosting a gala tomorrow night, the Vanguard Summit. He's invited a dozen high-net-worth investors. He claims he's going to announce a merger with a logistics giant. I frowned. What logistics giant? Yours, Elena said. He's claiming he's taking over Apex Global. He's telling everyone that the silent founder is his father-in-law, and that due to declining health, you are signing over full power of attorney to him live on stage. A cold laugh escaped my lips. It was a dry, humorless sound. So that's the end game, I said. Declare me senile. Get the power of attorney. Liquidate my assets. Pay off the sharks. And put the old man in a home. Yes, Elena said. He has the papers drawn up. He has a notary coming. He just needs you to be there, confused and compliant. I stood up and walked to the mirror in the corner of the office. I looked at the burn on my face. It was ugly. It made me look weak. It made me look like a victim. "Perfect," I whispered. "Sir?" "He wants a senile old man," I said, turning to Elena. "He wants a show. I'm going to give him the performance of a lifetime." "What are your orders?" "Contact the Kovacs syndicate," I said. "I want to buy the debt." Elena raised an eyebrow. "You want to pay off his loan?" "No, I want to own it. Offer the Kovacs full principal plus 20% if they transfer the note to our holding company tonight. I want to be the one holding the hammer when the deadline hits." "Done." "And Elena," I said, buttoning my stained flannel shirt, "get the security team ready and get a camera crew. If Jameson wants to broadcast a transition of power, let's make sure the world sees it in high definition." I spent the night in the office, sleeping on the couch. I didn't want to go back to the rental. I needed to stay in the mindset of the chairman, even while wearing the clothes of the pauper. At 7:00 a.m., my burner phone rang. It was Marianne. I let it ring 3 times before answering. I pitched my voice up, adding a tremor of hesitation. "Hello? Dad?" Her voice was frantic, breathless. "Oh, thank God. Where are you? We were so worried. You just disappeared." I stayed at a motel," I stammered. "My face hurts, Marianne. It really hurts." "I know, Dad. I know. Look, Jameson feels terrible. He was stressed. He didn't mean it. He's been crying all morning." Lies. Jameson hadn't cried since his father cut off his trust fund in college. "He wants to make it right," she continued. "Please come home. We're having a big dinner tonight, a celebration. We want you to be the guest of honor." "I don't know. Please, Dad." "For Noah? We have a surprise for you. We're going to set you up, so you never have to worry about money again." The trap was baited. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay, I'll come. What time?" "Be here at 6. And Dad, wear your best suit, the gray one. We want you to look sharp." "Okay, honey, I love you." "See you soon," she said, and hung up. She didn't say she loved me back. I lowered the phone. Elena was standing in the doorway, holding a fresh cup of coffee. "She's good," I said. She almost sounded sincere. "The Kovacs accepted the offer," Elena said. "You now own the debt on 42 Oak Ridge Lane. You also own Jameson's car, his credit card debt, and the lien on his business assets." "Good." "One more thing," Elena said, handing me a small black button. "Surveillance. High-fidelity audio, 4K video pinhole camera. Wear it." I took the button. It looked like a standard replacement for a dress shirt. "Time to suit up," I said. I drove the rusted sedan back to the suburbs. I parked down the street, just as they always asked. I walked up the driveway, letting my shoulders slump. I practiced a slight limp. The house was buzzing with activity. Caterers were carrying trays of hors d'oeuvres. A tent was being erected in the backyard. I knocked on the door. Jameson opened it. He was wearing a tuxedo. He looked like a penguin with an ego problem. When he saw me, his face contorted in disgust for a fraction of a second before the fake smile plastered itself back on. "Daniel," he boomed, grabbing my hand and shaking it too hard. "You made it. Come in, come in." He pulled me inside. The house smelled of expensive lilies and desperation. "Look at you," he said, eyeing my bandage. "We'll need to cover that up. Maybe some makeup? We have investors coming, Daniel. Important people." We need you to look competent." "I'm sorry, Jameson," I mumbled, looking at the floor. "I'm just a bit dizzy." Right. Listen, tonight is simple. I'm going to say a few words, call you up to the stage, and you're going to sign a few papers. Just formalities, insurance, estate planning, that sort of thing. To take care of you. And then I can rest? And then you can rest," he promised. "We found a lovely place for you. Sunshine Meadows. Great staff." Sunshine Meadows. I knew it. It was a state-funded warehouse for the indigent. A place people went to wait for death. "Okay," I said. "Whatever you say, Jameson." He patted my shoulder. "Good man. Now go to the guest room and stay there until I come get you. Don't talk to anyone. Don't wander." I sat in the guest room for 2 hours. I could hear the party starting. The clinking of glass, the murmur of voices, the string quartet playing generic classical music. I checked the button camera on my shirt. It was active. Elena was monitoring the feed from a van parked 2 blocks away. "Audio is clear." Elena's voice came through a tiny earpiece deep in my ear canal. "The guests are arriving. I see the Kovac representatives. They look confused." "They're expecting Jameson to pay them," I whispered. "They don't know the note was sold." "Correct. And I see the notary. She looks nervous." The door opened. Marianne slipped in. She was wearing a gown that probably cost more than my annual income. She looked beautiful and terrified. "Dad," she said, "here, take this." She handed me a glass of water and a small blue pill. "What is it?" "It's for your nerves," she said. "Jameson thinks you might get anxious on stage. It will help you relax." I looked at the pill, a sedative. They wanted me pliable. They wanted me to be a zombie who could hold a pen but couldn't read the fine print. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said. I put the pill in my mouth, took a sip of water, and pretended to swallow. As soon as she turned to check her makeup in the mirror, I spit the pill into my handkerchief. "Do you really think this is best?" I asked her. "Signing everything over?" She froze for a moment. She looked at me in the mirror. I saw a flash of guilt, a flicker of hesitation. "It's the only way, Dad," she said, her voice hardening. "We have to do this, for the family." "Okay," I said, "for the family." At 8 p.m., Jameson came to get me. "Showtime, old man," he whispered. "Don't embarrass me." He led me out to the backyard. The tent was filled with about 50 people. I recognized a few faces, local business owners, some real estate brokers, and the 3 large men in cheap suits standing near the bar. The Kovac brothers enforcers. Jameson led me to a chair on the small stage. The spotlight hit me, blindingly bright. I squinted, hunching over, looking every bit the frail, confused retiree. Jameson took the microphone. He oozed charisma. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "thank you for joining us on this momentous evening. As many of you know, my father-in-law, Daniel, built a legacy in the logistics world." He paused for applause. I had never told him I built a legacy. He was improvising, building the lie. "But time comes for us all," he continued, his voice dropping to a somber tone. "And recently, Daniel's health has declined. He has become confused, forgetful. Yesterday, he wandered off into a storm, endangering himself. A murmur of sympathy from the crowd. He was good. So, tonight, we are taking a step to protect him. Tonight, Daniel is officially passing the torch. He is signing over full control of his assets and the future of the company to me, so that I may steward his legacy and ensure his care." He gestured to the table where a stack of documents lay waiting. A notary stood by with a stamp. "Daniel," Jameson said, turning to me with a predatory smile. "If you would just sign here." He handed me a heavy fountain pen. My hands shook. I let the pen hover over the paper. I looked at the document. It wasn't insurance. It was a durable power of attorney, granting Jameson Bradford full rights to sell, liquidate, and manage all assets of Daniel J. Sterling. "Sign it," he hissed under his breath, leaning in close. "Sign it, or you end up on the street tonight." I looked at Marianne in the front row. She was staring at her shoes. I looked at the crowd. I looked at the pen. Then I stopped shaking. I sat up straight. I rolled my shoulders back. The slump disappeared. The confusion vanished from my eyes, replaced by the steel gaze that had negotiated billion-dollar mergers. I placed the pen on the table. "No," I said. The word hung in the air, magnified by the microphone on the podium. Jameson froze. "What?" "Daniel, you're confused. Just sign the paper." I stood up. I walked to the podium and took the microphone from his hand. He was too stunned to stop me. "I am not confused, Jameson," I said. My voice was strong, resonant. "And I am not signing anything." "Dad, sit down," Marianne cried out from the front row. "He's having an episode." "The only episode I am having," I said, addressing the crowd, "is a moment of clarity." I looked directly at the camera crew Jameson had hired. "My name is Daniel Sterling. I am the chairman of Apex Global Logistics, and for the last 5 years, I have been conducting an experiment." The room went deadly silent. I wanted to see if my family loved me, or my money. I pretended to be poor. I drove a rusted car. I lived simply. I turned to Jameson. He was pale, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. "And yesterday," I continued, "when I offered a handmade gift to my grandson, this man, my son-in-law, threw boiling soup in my face because he was disappointed it wasn't an iPad." Gasps rippled through the tent. Jameson lunged for me. "Cut the mic, he's lying." "Play the video, Elena," I said. Behind me, on the large projection screen intended for Jameson's presentation, the feed changed. It was grainy footage from a hidden camera in the dining room. It showed the dinner. It showed the soup. It showed Jameson's face as he threw it. It showed Marianne sitting silently. The audio boomed through the speakers. "That is what you deserve." Jameson stood on stage, stripped naked in front of his investors. "You monster!" someone in the crowd shouted. "I'm not done," I said. "Jameson invited you all here to witness him taking control of my assets. He needs those assets because he is broke." I pulled a document from my jacket pocket. "He owes $2 million to the Kovac syndicate, secured by this house. A house he forged my signature to mortgage." I looked at the 3 men by the bar. They weren't looking at Jameson anymore. They were looking at me. "But gentlemen," I said to them, "you don't need to worry about your money. The debt has been purchased." I held up the transfer note. "I own the debt now. I am the creditor." Jameson looked at the document in my hand. He looked at the Kovac enforcers, who were now nodding respectfully at me. He realized, in that second, that he was not the shark. He was the chum. You bought the note?" he whispered. "I did. And Jameson, you are in default." I signaled to the back of the room. The flap of the tent opened. 2 uniformed police officers walked in, followed by a man in a suit, a detective I knew well. "Jameson Bradford," the detective said, "we have a warrant for your arrest. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse, and assault." Jameson tried to run. It was a pathetic attempt. He made it 3 steps before the Kovac enforcers, amused by the turn of events, stepped in his path, blocking him like a wall of concrete. The police cuffed him right there in front of his guests. "Marianne!" Jameson screamed as they dragged him away. "Do something! Tell them he's crazy!" Marianne didn't move. She was sobbing, her hands covering her face. The guests began to scramble for the exits. The party was over. The illusion was shattered. I stood on the stage, alone. I felt a profound sense of exhaustion. It wasn't triumph. Victory over your own family is never a triumph. It's an amputation. It's necessary to stop the rot. But you lose a part of yourself in the process. When the police were gone and the guests had fled, I walked into the house. Marianne was sitting on the sofa, weeping. She looked up when I entered. Her makeup was running. She looked like a child again. "Dad," she choked out. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the forgery." "Stop," I said. I didn't raise my voice. "I saw your signature, Marianne. I saw you witness it." She flinched. "I did it for us," she pleaded. "He said we were going to lose everything. He said it was just a bridge loan." I was scared. "You were scared of being poor," I corrected her. "You were scared of living like me." "I'm sorry," she wailed. "I'm so sorry, Dad. Please, help me. He's gone now. It's just us. We can start over." I looked at her. I searched my heart for that fatherly instinct, the urge to fix it, to write a check, to make the pain go away. It was gone. It had died when she handed me that sedative. "No, Marianne," I said. "We cannot start over." "What do you mean?" "This house is now the property of Apex Global Assets. Since the mortgage is in default, I am initiating foreclosure immediately." Her eyes went wide. "You're kicking me out? Me and Noah?" "Noah will be taken care of," I said. "I have set up a trust for his education and his living expenses. But you cannot access it. It will be administered by a third party. You will receive a stipend for his care, enough for a modest apartment and food. Nothing more." But this is my home." "This was never your home," I said. "It was a stage set, and the play is over. Where will I go?" "You have a degree," I said. "You have your health. I suggest you get a job, like everyone else." I turned to leave. "Dad!" she screamed. "You can't do this. I'm your daughter." I stopped at the door. I looked back at her one last time. "I know," I said, "and that is why this is the hardest thing I have ever had to do. But if I save you now, you will never learn to save yourself." I walked out of the house. The rain had stopped. The air was crisp and clean. Elena was waiting by the Lincoln town car that had replaced my rusted sedan. "It's done, sir?" she asked. "It's done." "What about the house?" "Turn it into a shelter," I said, "for families getting back on their feet. Let it be a place where people actually build something instead of pretending." "And you, sir?" I touched the bandage on my face. It would scar. That was good. I wanted the reminder. "Take me to the airport, Elena. I have a factory to inspect in Tokyo. And then, maybe a vacation somewhere warm." I got into the car. As we pulled away, I didn't look back at the house. I looked forward into the dark, quiet night. I was alone. But for the first time in 5 years, I wasn't lonely. I was free. If this story fired you up, please hit that like button. It really helps the channel. And if you believe that respect must be earned, share this video with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe. We have more stories of justice coming soon. Take care of yourselves, and remember, never mistake silence for weakness. The quietest person in the room is often the one holding the keys.